Way back in 2005, two brothers set off on a road trip that would save the world and change television.
William and Harry.
No, not those brothers.
Art thou certain?
Quite. For 15 seasons and 327 episodes, Supernatural took audiences on a wild ride of family, fate, and faith with a rocking soundtrack and a seriously cool car.
But that was then, Bobo, and this is now. And yes, the show has quote-unquote ended, but we're not quite done with the journey.
No, we're not.
And that's why we're watching it all over again, or for Rob and me, for the first time,
That's right.
diving deep into every episode of Supernatural with the fine folks who made it. And we're taking you along for the ride.
Whether you like it or not. I'm Rob Benedict. I played Chuck Shirley, a.k.a. God.
Spoiler.
Yeah, it is a bit of a spoiler, but hey, spoilers are fair game here.
Fine. And I'm Richard Speight Jr., and I played the Trickster, also known as the Archangel Gabriel, and I did a little bit of Loki work in there.
Okay, you know what? We're running out of time.
Okay, well, we'll be talking about the entire series, so whatever we say, accept it. You've been warned.
So buckle up and settle in.
Because this, my friend, is Supernatural, then and now.
Hey, everybody, this is Rob Benedict.
And my name is Richard Speight Jr.
And we're talking about Season 2, Episode 2, Everybody Loves a Clown.
Do they? That's just my question.
That's what the podcast is going to be about, is figuring out if that's actually true.
Oh, well.
Does everybody?
We can answer that real quickly. No, they don't. People don't love clowns. People have fear of clowns, Robbie. Do you have a deep-seated fear of clowns?
I don't. I don't really have a fear of clowns. I think I liked clowns as a kid. It was only when I became an adult, and really it was after, what's his name? Who's the murderer, the serial killer who was a clown?
George Bush?
John Wayne Gacy.
Oh,
That was the first time I was like, oh, that's creepy.
You know, I think I got uncomfortable with clowns when I realized that there's somebody in that clown suit. It's probably a weirdo.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
We're going to have to cut all of this out. I just realized I've offended anybody in our audience who's
a clown?
Clowning for a living. I just called them weirdo.
That is
Didn't
a
mean
thing.
to.
You got clown school. That is a thing. You can go to clown school.
One of my favorite lines from any Simpsons episode was Sideshow Bob, voiced by Kelsey Grammer, and David Hyde Pierce playing his brother. And he's like, "You've always wanted to be a clown. Juggling lessons, buffoon lessons, 4 years at clown college." And David Hyde Pierce's character goes, "I'll thank you not to refer to Harvard that way." Or some Ivy League school.
Yeah, because the joke was that Sideshow Bob was like actually super intelligent. And,
Exactly. So Robbie doesn't hate clowns. Robbie's not afraid of clowns. That's your headline. That's your episode. Thank you, everybody.
And good night.
Come back and see us.
Hey, but before we get into the summary of the episode...
You know, you're not even asking me if I'm afraid of clowns. You didn't even ask. No follow-up questions.
I know the answer. Rich, are you afraid of clowns?
No. Dumb question.
I'll thank you not to ask that. Hey, guys, help us get the word out about this podcast, all this silliness. We want to keep building our audience, and we want all Supernatural fans to know that this exists and to be a part of it. So we thank you to help getting the word out.
We thank you to help getting the word out.
Hey, everybody, help us get the word out about the show. Help us keep building our audience. All Supernatural fans need to be a part of this. So it'd be great if you let your friend know.
Please do. More than one friend. Let multiple friends know.
Let your friends know. All right. Everybody Loves a Clown, Episode 2. Dean and Sam burn their father's body in a funeral pyre.
That's sad.
Sad. First time I
Hashtag sad.
First time I knew the word pyre was in a Doors song. He says funeral pyre. Before that, I never heard that as a thing, but now I know. All right, Dean and Sam burn their father's body in a funeral pyre.
Sad.
Sam asks Dean if his father said anything to him before he died. Dean says, no, nothing.
Lie.
Back at Bobby's, Sam finds an old voicemail on Dad's phone from a woman named Ellen.
That's hot.
The boys track her down to Harvelle's Roadhouse.
Love it.
They discover that Harvelle's is a favorite stop for hunters. She's the widow of a fellow hunter and knew John.
Uh-oh.
They also meet her daughter, Jo.
Wait, they meet her daughter, Jo and Ash?
No, they meet her daughter, Jo and Ash, an eccentric guy who seems to be able to figure things out. He agrees to look at the data they have about Yellow Eyes. The brothers leave and go to Medford, Wisconsin to investigate a string of murders happening while a circus is in town.
Everybody loves a circus.
Well, do they? There are reports of a creepy clown in the area.
You know what? Here's a little trivia for you, Robbie. Do you know on sets in Canada, they call base camp the circus?
That's true. That is true. That's just a Canadian thing? I thought that was everywhere. Well, the boys think it is a vengeful spirit, so they look for a cursed item. A little girl sees a clown in her house that her parents can't see.
They can't see the house?
No, they can't see the clown.
Oh,
They stake out the house and save the little girl, but the clown escapes.
damn it.
The boys call Ellen, who explains that it is a Rakshasa. Rakshasa.
What?
Ellen explains that it's a Rakshasa, which have you ever been to Rakshasa? It's a great music festival.
I was going to say, I think you've dropped some Rakshasa before hitting the stage a few times.
Both things are true. Anyway, it's a Rakshasa and needs to be killed with a brass dagger.
Dude, the brass daggers opened up for the
I saw
Steel Point Magnolias, and they were awesome.
I saw Brass Dagger at Rakshasa. And they were incredible. Dean goes to visit the knife thrower to see if he has anything made of brass.
That's what you do, You go to the knife thrower. Excuse me. Knife thrower? You got any brass things around?
Hey, knife thrower, got any brass? The knife thrower attacks Dean. It's the Rakshasa.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Sam leads it into the funhouse, finds a brass pipe, and stabs it.
There's a lot in that sentence that if you're just tuning in, if you just turned on the channel, kids, that sentence makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Rakshasa. Sam leads it into the funhouse, finds a brass pipe, and stabs it. There you go.
Well, they return to Harvelle's to check on Ash's progress. He doesn't
Wait, they checked out Harvelle's Ash? That's rude.
No, they return to Harvelle's to check on Ash's progress. He doesn't have anything yet. They head to Bobby's. Sam admits he isn't dealing with Dad's death very well. Dean beats the remains of the Impala with a tire iron to take out his frustration.
That's a healthy way to do it.
Yeah, that must have been really fun for Jensen to do that scene.
Oh, yeah. He loves swinging steel at cars.
He does. But, that is a thing, actually. You can do that as a therapy. You can beat things. That's something you can do. You heard of that?
Yeah, you can.
I'd like to do that with you.
I'm not made of steel, Rob. You'll kill me. Wait a minute. You just threatened to murder me. And that's what you want to do.
You and I should go do that with beating things.
That's not what you said. Officer, that's not what he said.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench? Okay, I like this episode. I like it I like introducing the gang at the Roadhouse. It's fun to see Chad. Well, really all these people that I've really never seen their characters, but I've known them. But I haven't, like Samantha Ferris and Chad Lindberg. So it was fun to see them.
Yeah, Joe and Ellen are great characters.
Yeah, and Ash, and they're great. And
it's such a colorful set. I don't mean in actual color. I mean it's such a fun new
Roadhouse,
home basey kind of feeling set for the gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, the set itself, and then the inhabitants of that set. The Joe and Ellen character are super strong. Female characters finally introduced into the show, and Ash is an appropriate amount of comedy, but mixed in with like info because he's an MIT guy. It's a really, really cool characters to bring into the program. Yeah,
and we're back now. We're back to the sort of Monster of the Week feel, but we've added the Roadhouse, which is sort of a new home base. Yeah, I mean, I loved the season premiere, the season 2 season premiere a lot. So it's hard to sort of match that level of episode, but this is great. I feel in a way almost that this is episode 1 because we're like really starting on what this season 2 is going to look like here.
Oh, you mean it's more? Yeah, I know what you mean because
season
episode 201 feels like to be continued from the last cliffhanger of season 1.
Exactly.
And now this is the new chapter beginning. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, and they're in that hospital the whole time. It's sort of its own standalone episode, episode 1, but episode 2 is now now I can see what season 2 is going to look like. Anyway, so along those lines, I'm going to give it I'm going to give it a beard that's like not quite there, but it's on its way.
Oh, like give me an actor, give me a look. Who you got?
Like I'll give it the old. Who's got a beard that's not quite there, but almost?
How about Clooney? Is it a Clooney?
Sure, I'll give it the Clooney. I'll give it the Clooney.
Rosemary or George?
Rosemary.
Okay, you got a George Clooney because I was going to give it a George Clooney too. So let's give it 2 George Clooney's.
Okay, 2 Clooney's.
Which is a solid review, by the way. It's a really good review. There's a lot to like in this episode. A lot of creep factor.
Well, it's a Phil Sgriccia episode. Every time Phil directs, I feel like we're in good hands.
Yes, agreed. And he never sticks in a rut. They all seem fresh and new and interesting and cinematically challenging.
Exactly.
And this is no different. And we get to meet some interesting new characters. So two strong Clooneys.
Two Clooneys for the clown.
Right. That's the title of Rob's autobiography. Two Clooneys for the clown.
Well, speaking of Phil Sgriccia, he is our guest today, along with Chad Lindberg.
He hasn't directed much television, has he, that Phil?
No,
He's new to the game.
Yeah, he hasn't. Except for 45 episodes of Supernatural.
Egad!
And currently The Boys. He's all over the new season of The Boys and its spinoff, Varsity.
In fact, he's the producing director of the entire series, The Boys. So he's the big cheese.
Yeah, he's his work is always, like I said, always great. And then Chad Lindberg, I mean, he's guest starred in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Sneaky Pete, Pen 15, Sons of Anarchy, CSI, X-Files. But Supernatural fans know him and love him as Ash. Let's get into our interview with Phil and Chad. We're so excited to have with us two gentlemen who were such a big part of season 2. Well, one of them, Phil Sgriccia, is a big part of the whole run. But our old buddy, Chad Lindberg, also joins us. Hi, Phil. Hi, Chad.
What's up, guys? Good afternoon, morning, or evening, wherever you're at.
Thank you for being with us again, Phil, and for the first time, Chad. Welcome.
Chad, so excited to have you. It was so, Rich and I are watching the show for the first time, and so your character is one of those where, like, I've done these conventions with you. I know you. We become good friends because of the conventions, and I know your character is so legendary that, like, you see the picture everywhere, and you see the hair, and I see you doing this different sayings, but, like, I've never really sat down and watched one of your episodes, so it was like a real thrill. I'm like, Chad, first of all, you're nailing it. You know, I can see why fans love you so much, and it's just awesome, man. It's just awesome to see you on the show.
Well, it's funny because it's like I don't know you guys through like the actual show. I know you guys from, going out and doing these conventions and becoming friends like through that. And so it's really cool that you guys are going to like watch the entire thing because I haven't done that. And maybe it's because it's like, I'm like, oh, there's Rich. Oh, there's Rob. Oh, there's Misha. You know what I mean? It's hard to like
take yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because we have all basically befriended each other on the convention circuit. So I've seen giant 6-foot vinyl posters of you all over auditoriums in your Ash ensemble.
Right.
So in a weird way, when you came on as Ash, I'm like, hey, it's that guy from the poster. Like, so, I mean, I feel like I've seen your work, but the truth is I haven't. I know the lines of yours that became famous that people wear on T-shirts and, party in the front, business in the back and all that kind of stuff. But it's not
other way around.
Business in the front. Oh, wait, business in the front, party in the back.
Perfect.
Party, business. Look, we can do some business. But wait, my mom's home, so we should really party in the.
We should
something
party
like
in the back. But like it's cool to sort of see it all put together in the show and how it's relevant to the actual storyline and all that. It's cool.
We should also specify that we're staring at Chad, and behind him is a sign that says "Badass is in."
Yeah, we were talking about that before you guys got on. My buddy actually made this replica here of the sign.
That's awesome.
And actually, you can go
in or out.
Exactly. So
thankfully for us, he's in. Okay, we're talking about episode 2 of season 2. So John's funeral pyre at the beginning, is that a Return of the Jedi reference? To Anakin Skywalker's funeral pyre?
No, I think it's the way hunters send other hunters off. It's to get rid of the remains of the body in in this world of Supernatural.
Yeah.
If there's no bones.
Right.
If they burn it down far enough. I think it's that.
Right.
That more than anything. It's the way the hunters do it.
Right. That makes sense.
Do we know, Phil, if is that some sort of, they don't want somebody else to be able to come by and desecrate the hunter's body? I mean, is there a deeper reason?
Or a spirit could take over the body.
Right.
All of a sudden, John's a zombie, or John's there's another one where it's a ghost taking over. The spirit is taking over the remains, so they get rid of it. So there's no chance of that. There was a scene ahead of that was kind of cool, but we took it out. And I think it was really painful, is what I recall, because I had a matching shot where the boys went, or somebody came in to look at the coroner's office, and we had the camera up high above the slide of the drawer where John's body was. And it was empty. And then we were going to dissolve through to the fire being, like all of a sudden the drawer would turn on fire kind of thing. But I don't know if it was time or Kripke hated it or whatever. I'm not sure. I forget, but
There's only two reasons it didn't make it. Time or Kripke hated it.
No, I think it was, I don't know. It's just one of those where it was kind of, because, Rich, you spend a lot of time designing things and, they become precious. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's all gone. Okay.
Yeah.
So Phil, you weren't there when they cut that out? Like you just found that out?
Oh, no,
you knew.
Oh, yeah, I knew. I mean, but
at least you get to know. Like the rest of us down the food chain, we never know. We just turn on the TV and, our favorite scene's gone. Cool.
Oh, look, that's not my episode. They used all the outtakes.
Just hold that thought. We're coming right back.
Hey, this is Richard Spate. You know what? It's 2024. It's a brand new year, and I bet you made some New Year's resolutions, and I bet one of them was to eat healthier. Well, you can get cranking on that resolution right now, my friend, with Factor. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, the prep work, the cooking fatigue. I'm getting tired just talking about it. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you will have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart this resolution off right. Forget frantic lunch prep and rush dinner making. That stinks. Factor's 2-minute meals, yes, I said 2 minutes, are your secret weapon in the new year. You get to fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals all delivered right to your door. It doesn't get any easier than that. And Factor now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snacks, and more to keep you going no matter what's on the schedule. So I know what you're asking. Rich, how do I tap into this Factor magic? You head to factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 and use code SPNTAN50 to get 50% off. That's a lot off. That's code SPNTAN50 at factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 for 50% off. Make that resolution happen now and make it happen at a discount. Fantastic food that's healthy and delicious and delivered right to my door. Now that is how you start the new year off right.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And now back to the episode. Phil, you came from the editing world.
Yes.
And so, did you ever edit Supernatural?
No, I hadn't been really full-time editing. I would do a pilot once in a while.
Okay.
I did the last pilot I did was 2005, just before I worked with Stephen Hopkins on a pilot for NBC that didn't work. I got to cut in Montreal, and I worked with Idris Elba. Went out to dinner with him several times. It was kind of
cool.
Name dropper. Yeah, that I am.
Wow, look at you.
Anyway, that was the last thing I cut full. I think 2005.
Right. Okay. So at the beginning of this episode, we've got a new main title. We're on a new network. We're on the CW. New title with the Flames. What's that process like with the plan to change the title graphic every season? Where does that come from?
I think because it's a new feel and there's a new arcing story, we kind of tried to think about what's the overall umbrella of the season. The beginning of this with introducing Chad and Sam and Alona, it was kind of like to broaden so it wasn't just the boys, it was kind of like this world of hunters. And that was kind of the reason. And I think, the CW with the new change, they wanted to, make it a little bit bigger, as it were, like, people that would recur, and we could come back to this roadhouse and we could come back to these characters, which we did, which was wonderful. It opened it up a bit. So,
yeah. And what's that process like? Is that the producers saying, hey, we want it to look like this year, and then you give that to a graphic person who comes out and like, how's this, boss?
Well, I think partly what was going on because it was new hierarchy at the CW. There was like, let's broaden the palette, bringing in new people. And then I think also there was probably talk about, we were still on film at this point. So it was like, should we have more color? Should we have less color? And some of that was a continuing, it's a horror show, so you don't want it too bright, type of thing. At night, it's dark at night. You leave it that way.
Right.
It makes more tension to the viewer if you don't get all your answers in the shot. If you're kind of like scared about it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, let's talk about Chad. Let's talk about Ash's hair.
Yeah.
So, how much of that was yours, and how much of that was wig?
Most of it. Well, it took about an hour and a half to put on. And
holy cow!
Yeah, most of it was hair extensions that they would button into the back of my head.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And then, of course, my hair was longer back then. So then the business up front would take a while. A lot of hairspray, a lot of hair drying. And then once that thing went on, I disappeared and I just sashayed all over the set with that mullet. The mullet really did the work. You know what I mean? I just had to shade it up.
We tried to get the mullet on this podcast, but he's doing a feature in Naples.
Yeah.
Not returning our calls.
So Chad, how much of a voice did you have in the style of the character? I mean, and maybe the answer is zero. I don't know, because we're all young actors at the time. But it fits you like a glove. The ensemble, the clothes, the hair. Was there any part of that was a conversation, or were they just like, here, put this on, and this is you?
I appreciate that. No, it was already kind of like a done deal. But I feel like, I came into Phil. Were you in the audition room?
I probably was up north.
Okay.
At that point.
All right, because
you were in there. Kripke was on set.
Yes, he was in the room. I remember Kripke was in the room. And when I went in to audition, I wore a sleeveless flannel. And then when they said go ahead and start at any time, I knew that Ash had to be a big deal and he had to come in like big. So I turned around and I unbuttoned my shirt all the way. And then I started the scene by whipping around and completely bare chesting it. And I started there, and then they were rolling, and I think I got the call later that night. And so I think maybe that was also, they kind of took it from that. And, everything fit me like a glove. And then a couple of the jewelry was mine, actually, now looking back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Alona Tall was like, Chad told us that his thing was always like, keep it weird.
Yeah. There was not a straight face around me, and no. Sam Ferris will tell you, like, I go for it, and I will try to get you to laugh. I will try my best.
Yeah, Jensen is one of the best actors that doesn't break, and I think Chad might have done it a couple times while we were filming that, because your cadence and your timing of everything was slightly off everybody else's. So you had to wait for things with you, or you were too fast. Your rhythm was way different, which was wonderful because it threw them way off, which it should have been.
Right.
So all that stuff was working.
And also, a lot of people don't know that we went back to the table with Ash because he was written, originally. On top of what we saw, they had him as like a psychic, and he was seeing ghosts and all of these weird things. And then I got the call from you guys about 3 weeks later and said, we have to go back to the table and kind of water him down a little bit. So I flew back up there, and we had a lot of meetings and a lot of conversations. And we went back and reshot some of Ash's stuff. And that's what actually made it into the episode.
Oh, like really? What got reshot?
Good question. Some of the pool table stuff.
Yeah, I think we did. I'm trying to think, because Kripke was there for part of it, and then when we got it in the cut, he was kind of like, "We should really do this," and it was like, "Oh, can we do that?" And we had the set; it was already built, and Chad was going to be in more episodes, so I think.
Well, that was also a thing too. I remember going on the studio and seeing you guys were actually going to build Ash's lair. And things shifted, and it just didn't kind of go that way. But that was happening at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what was the difference between the watered down version of Ash?
The quirkiness, I think. You know what I mean? Because I was really going for it. But again, they had me written so many different things that I was compiling into one.
Yeah.
And I think they wanted more of the computer rhythm, and dialogue and stuff like that to kind of focus on.
Yeah.
I love computer jargon, let me tell you.
Well,
It's very warm.
I think it's a funny bit when you mention MIT, and they're like, "You mean MIT?" It's like, it's a university in Massachusetts. Like, it's nothing. And I think that sort of little kernels of your background,
right?
Really, one throws them way off because they're not college educated boys, really. I mean, Sam was to a point.
Yeah.
But stuff like that is fun for the reveal of the character.
Yeah.
You don't know where this guy's from.
Yeah.
And then you do.
Yeah. And then he's this multidimensional character. So with that whole crew there, Ellen, Joe, and Ash, was the idea that this was going to be these recurring allies for Sam and Dean for season 2?
Yeah. I mean, it was before Bobby's turned into Bobby's, we had that. And, because the show is a road show. And then so it's motel rooms and road houses. So it became like a thing where you could have a story originate, like a hunter could come in to Ellen and to the roadhouse to Harvelle's, and then it would spawn off of that, So it gave us a place. And where we had the location was at the old, I think it's in Boundary Bay, south of Vancouver, and everybody shoots out there. It's an old military base where the roads are the only thing left. And so Jerry Wanick and his art department masters, built us the roadhouse.
Is the interior there too?
There's a chunk of it, but it wasn't the whole thing. The whole thing was on stage.
Okay.
We had and then I think Chad's room in the back was also there in the back somewhere.
Yes,
okay.
It was around the corner. That's where.
There's some other later episodes.
Yes. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
You do feel like watching this show, this episode, and a couple of episodes into the season, further into season 2, you feel like this is going to be a major base camp. Like it's going to be the Men of Letters of the early years.
Right.
And it never really does take that kind of toehold. It kind of goes there, but never fully manifests itself into that. And I'm curious, Phil, as one of the big brass guys, if you know why. Like what drove that or didn't drive that?
I don't know. That's a writer's question, because the locations are driven by the script. And so, if we needed more of Ellen or Joe, did they have to be at the, there was a couple later. I know Kim did one where, they took Joe on a hunt without mom knowing. And that was, that was awful for the boys, because Ellen is not to be trifled with. But I think the bigger part was to open up the characters. And I think maybe the Roadhouse was part of it. I think the writers just found that, the story takes you in a direction, and sometimes it works out. It was always a good place to go, but then it was kind of like, all right, it kind of served its purpose. And maybe that was why it didn't go as much as like Bobby's. Bobby's was a home, was a place, this kind of had bunks, but we never really showed any of that, really. I mean, we didn't go down that road.
Because we never really had that at Supernatural. They never had a home base until Men of Letters, correct?
Well, they kind of had Bobby's. That was used where they'd sleep at Bobby's. And that's what we used for most of those seasons. And again, it's a lot of motels that the art department built.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you, more than a lot of directors, really went to the effort of making the motels a little bit different than other motels.
Well, me and Jerry, we're both from the Midwest, so we are used to that kind of weirdness of hotels.
Yeah.
And some of it, I know in the disco one was probably the first time we commented on it.
Yeah.
Because it was so outrageous. I said to Jared and Jensen, when you walk in, just take a moment and look, and we'll do a little pan through. And it was the first time. And then from that point on, it was kind of like, okay, we've done that, or maybe there's something we can do with them later. But for the most part, they, they were just what they were.
Yeah. So in this episode, Phil, when they're on the way to Medford, the boys are driving through the rain. Now, was that, again, that just Vancouver being Vancouver?
No, that's poor man's.
Really?
We were on a stage with water guns or, rain tower type of thing. And I like doing that. A lot of people hate it because it gets the stage wet, but it's just little rain guns that are shooting at the windshield, and you got to have the wipers going. The sound guys hate me because the I'm like, well, they got to talk louder. It's the rain.
It's the rain. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
By the way, I love that you started that by describing it as water guns, and in a flash, I just see you and Sarah just like from Walmart, like.
They're bigger than that. It's bigger than that. But part of the cheat on any of that stuff is trying to get the water on the side windows to go sideways, and it doesn't want to do that because we're not actually driving, so there's no wind. That the car is driving to pull the water sideways, so it's going down. So you got to kind of hide that as much as you can.
Right.
But the windshield is going, and you just say more water, and it drains off into. We've got like a pan underneath the car, and most of it goes in there. Some of it doesn't, but it's just it's a dark, stormy, out in the middle of nowhere night.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Chad, here's a question for you: was there ever a backstory that you know about Ash's origin story? I mean, I know we know MIT and that kind of thing, but how did he wind up there? How is he friends with Joe?
After years of being on the road, and of course, after getting kicked out of MIT for fighting, that was a big thing for fighting.
Sure.
He realized, he had to go find his own. And I think once he came upon the Roadhouse, that was it. And then Ellen took him in, and then he just set up shop in the back. And
fit right in.
And then here we are.
Yeah.
I love his makeshift computer. That it kind of looks like when my kids bring elbow macaroni art home from
There's a lot too.
Early days.
It's a very heavy piece of prop.
Yeah,
And
it's got all the bells and whistles, literally.
Mm-hmm.
There's that moment where Jensen's going to touch it, and you give him the and I don't know if that was scripted. I think.
It was not. No,
I remember you doing that, and then I said, "All right, we'll play that." So we got the shot of his fingers hovering over as you're giving him the "Don't be touching my shit, buddy."
Yeah. I decided early on there was going to be tension between me and Jensen. There just was. Ash and Dean. There was going to be a little bit of tension. You know what I mean?
Makes total sense.
Yeah, totally.
It was good.
Totally.
It was really good. And then you drink his beer.
I drink his
beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You totally get into his space.
That's how, that's one of the things, they talk about how, that show looks, you can tell it's older because the cell phones are bigger or the bell bottoms are wider. People will know that that's a pre-COVID episode because you drink another man's beer. Would never happen now.
No, of course not.
Chad, did you get to do a lot of improv? Like, was it the sort of thing where that you after the scene, after your last line, you'd get to sort of do a bit or anything like that?
I think so. I mean, yeah, Phil and everybody definitely left a lot of room. I mean, not for so much the dialogue, but just to be me.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times, I fell off the pool table. I don't think that actually made it, but I would wake up and then I would literally just collapse off the table and make this huge thunk. And I thought it was the most funniest thing ever. There was a lot of leniency just for me to be me. And one of my favorite things is when I say, I forget what the line is. Sam says something about clowns. And I say, clowns. I go, what the? And you almost think I'm going to say, but I don't. And I switch it. But you guys left it in there. And I was like, yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think there was parts of, because I remember Kripke being there and he was like, look, we got to play around here because we don't know what these characters are. It's like doing a pilot all of a sudden with 3 new characters. So
right. It
was Ellen, and Joe and Ash were kind of like, all right, let's see what they are and find out. So I think there was, get it on script and then play around if you got time. And I think the play around stuff was in there more than a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure all these little things have helped. You want these characters to be, like I said, multidimensional and not just cardboard cutouts. So it helps to have 3 great actors playing them. So in this episode, we have a very scary clown.
Such a scary clown.
So
I'm not
scary.
even scared of clowns.
So freaky. Are either of you afraid of clowns, carnivals, or circuses?
After seeing, and this dates me, the Big Top with Jimmy Stewart?
Yeah.
As he plays the clown that never takes his makeup off. and he's a surgeon that's on the run for murdering his wife.
Oh, wow.
And so he never takes his makeup off. And that is like, I saw that probably when I was a teenager or something. And I always thought that clowns are hiding, right? They're hiding behind the makeup.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's, I'm not afraid of them. I'm just like I'm going to keep my distance.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Chad? I mean, I know you're a big ghost guy.
Yeah, I lean into it. I love the clowns. I love the it. I love all that stuff, man. I love Joker. Like I love any sort of like clown. Lean into it. As far as I'm concerned, I dig it, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a very it quality to this script. With the kids and the clown.
Yes.
I think there's some weak parenting at play in this episode. Massively weak parenting. Like some of these kids just wander off at the carnival and end up like, how are they getting those clowns back to their house? I mean, I get the fact that clowns have to be invited in, but man, I don't know. A lot of heavy drinkers in the dad department there, just sleeping through a clown knocking on the glass window and.
I don't know. Would you know if a clown was knocking on your kid's window?
Apparently not, which now I live in constant fear.
No, see, you're going to wake up and he's going to say, he is my friend.
That's so scary. It's so creepy. Look, part of what also makes this episode creepy is the whole funhouse factor of it all, which is creepy in itself. I've actually, as an actor, years after you guys did this, I did a commercial where we shot in a fun house and they had to angle all the mirrors. It was a set built. How challenging was this for you, Phil? Because it looks great and it's super creepy. What went into the conversation with Jerry to make this workable for you?
Well, we only built parts of it. We built the part where all the demons and stuff and the baby jars and the little boy sees the clown in the mirror or in the glass and he turns around and nothing's there. That was all built. Is same with where the calliope, kind of the brass pipes were. And that whole mirror sequence. The mirror sequence was kind of cool because we had double mirrors. So we had the cameras behind another mirror that reflected to itself. So we could be almost anywhere as long as we were in dark, had the camera masked off with a float or whatever.
That's cool.
So if you've got two mirrors and this one is a double-sided, meaning you can be on the far side, as long as you keep it dark on this side, you can shoot right at the other mirror and it sees only the mirror. So that sort of camera trickery was that we were doing that a bit when Sam's walking through some of that stuff. And then, that was kind of, Jerry set up this maze kind of with all the bright colors and black around it all. So it was like you ended up looking at more frame like ideas than what was around it.
Interesting. Is there a story with the clown chair?
Well, one thing working with Kripke and with Singer is that they the good ideas stay. And George Newman, our set decorator, a brilliant set decorator and bicycle enthusiast, he used to do, I think, the Tour de France. Anyway, something like that. George did, yeah. So George shows me this clown chair. And I'm like, that's brilliant, but where do we do it? Where do we put it? And then we have the scene where they go interview for a job. And I said, put it in there and put a folding chair next to it. So all I told Jensen was, before they open that door and walk in, is Sam hates clowns. So Jensen opens the door and sees the chair. And immediately that moment is on film and really film because we shot film. So that moment we made it work because now Sam has to sit without his back touching the clown. He's on the clown's lap. I mean, the whole chair was like the clown body and the arms were like this.
Yeah.
It's so creepy and hilarious. I love that moment.
Creepy. But, that, and then the earlier, the little person, woman clown that goes by, that was not scripted. I just said, walk by him, just give him a look. And so that became something. So because we had dialogue, which says, they're in the car on the way to the thing and apparently clowns kill. Well, yes, planes crash and apparently clowns kill. I think it's something like that. So it became this bit throughout there where I would have clowns staring at Sam across while he's cleaning up. Some of it made it, some of it didn't.
Yeah.
But there was a ton of stuff that we could play with Jared's, character to make him uncomfortable.
Right.
So
wow.
There was a lot of that. That was a lot of stuff that was fun. And George found that chair, and I was like, what a brilliant find that was.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
It's just a little moment, but it helps tell us our story.
Yeah, that and the moment with the little person, I thought was funny. Was that the sort of thing where you just saw her as an extra and you're like...
Yeah, no, I think we had the carnival, and I think we had some choices on people that were going to dress up as clowns. And I saw her and I went, what if she just walks by? We don't say anything. There's no dialogue. Just walk by and look at Sam. And so we did it. And then Dean walks up and he says, you get her number. That was not scripted. So there was all that stuff to really, whittle at Sam's psyche, and then later there's another line. I think Sam says something about the little kid fingered the clown, and Dean just looks at him. And I said, don't react. Do not react. Just look at him. And,
oh, my God.
And he does. He goes, the kid fingered the clown, meaning pointed him out. Pointed him out.
Yeah.
And then all Dean can think of is something else. He's trying not to say anything.
You have one of the creepier moments to date in this, in your personal life. No, in the episode. And it's the one moment when the guy that we think is a blind knife thrower reveals himself to be the clown, and his entire face starts to morph into the evil clown smile. Like the forehead. Did you notice that, Rob?
Yeah.
Like he has a cool, like, scary smile, but then it goes up like an unnatural, inhuman way. The eyebrows kind of arch up and the wrinkles in the forehead cave in.
Yeah, it looks like one of those Instagram filters.
A what?
Looks like a filter, like an Instagram filter,
Yeah. And we didn't want to overdo that. We just wanted a taste of it, because that's one thing Kripke was very adamant about, is like, we don't want to overdo, because we didn't have the visual effects money.
Well, it looked awesome, and it's what you don't see, because that look keeps going. Like, you cut off it real quick.
Yeah, we cut to Dean, or we cut to black, or whatever. It went to a commercial break. So that's all it was supposed to be, is just enough to go, oh my God, what happens next? It's way better to do that for the audience, to let the audience figure that part of it out in their heads.
Absolutely.
Chad, here's a question for you. And this may be, you've probably been asked this a million times. I hate to be the guy that asks this question.
For the millionth and first time.
But I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask it. Because this is one for the vault, right? This is the podcast for the vault.
Sure.
Did you know that your character was going to catch on, A, the way it did, and B, were you surprised that your character has had such staying power and has caught on with the fans so passionately?
Thank you for saying all that. That's very nice. I knew right away when I got the sides for the audition. I'm like, oh, this character is dope. And I just knew it was just like this feeling of like, oh, I get it. And I know it's going to be a funny character. And then, of course, it didn't really take off, though, until later on, I feel, because season 2 was kind of, I don't know, it was after the first season, still trying to find its footing. Yeah. And I think Ash really sort of took off once I hit the convention circuit years ago. And they also got to meet me. I think that was a huge part of it, was like knowing the guy behind the mullet and my presence online. If you follow me, I'm quite outspoken and a lot of ways like Ash is. So I think that kind of like, helped, and we've traveled the world with this show. So I think that's kind of what did it. And then, of course, once the reruns started to take place, and then Netflix and all these things. And then Ash really was like, we love going back and visiting the mullet. Now it's a classic to go back.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is. It's one of the classic characters that emerged in the first 5 seasons. I mentioned the first 5 seasons because so many long-standing fan favorites emerged in those first 5 years.
Yep.
And it was basically you and Gabe Tigerman kind of came out as the first 2 sort of fan favorite characters early on. And it's really cool. It's really cool to sort of see the genesis of it all.
I think Behind the Mullet is Chad's Flaccid Jazz album.
Totally.
Dude, I was going to say, if he doesn't call his autobiography The Man Behind the Mullet, then I'm not buying it.
I'm doing it.
Yeah. just behind the mullet. It's a new kind of trend. It's a new genre. It's called flaccid jazz.
Really like it.
Honestly, if you guys did a jazz album together and just had a goatee and a mullet on the album cover, I would know who the musicians were.
Beautiful. Thank you for this inspiration. This may be the title of my first book.
There you go.
It should
Behind
be.
the mullet.
It should be.
I like it.
I think you're in. You're in.
Well, Phil, you know this because we've had you here before, but we're going to have you here again. And Chad, we're going to have you here again. Thank you for being a part of this
I'd
conversation.
be so honored, guys.
And it's always fun.
Such a pleasure.
This is Jared Padalecki stopping in to say hi and let you know that we've got to take a quick break. Thank you for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
So great, as always, to see those guys.
Well, it's great to have Phil because, Phil's a staple of this show as well as the Supernatural show, and his insight is always super interesting and valuable and funny and informative. And then here's Chad, who's, a staple of the convention circuit, a legendary character from the show. You and I are just now discovering on screen, and it's so fun to discover him on screen and then have him to talk about it. It's so great.
Well, some of the first conventions I did were with Chad.
Same.
And one of the most memorable, we did one together in England that was really great, but we did one with you. Were we in Rome? Yeah, it was Rome 10 years ago. And that's where you and I really became super tight. And we were running around Rome during the day before we had to go to work. And that's when I started calling him the kid.
The kid, yeah.
And for no reason, just because he's got kind of a baby face, I guess.
He's all grown up, but we still call him the kid.
Yeah. Anyway, it was great to see him. Great to see them both. All right, let's get into the mythology of this episode.
Mythology.
Creepy clowns have a long history in film and TV and real-life stories.
Bummer for clowns who aren't creepy, because I'm sure they'd like to have normal clowns on
That's
TV
true.
and in film, but sorry, it's all creepy all the time, clowns.
That's true. Well, here are a few true stories. As I mentioned earlier, John Wayne Gacy would dress up as a clown to entertain children at birthday parties.
That is so creepy.
It's so creepy. And then he became a serial killer.
Yes. In September of 2014 in Northampton, England, or as Rob likes to call it, Northampton.
That's right.
There were several reports of a creepy clown appearing around town and just glaring at people passing by. He became known as the Northampton Clown. Now, where they came up with that name, no one knows.
In the nickname department, I feel like they could have done better.
They really phoned it in. They should work as hard as the clown, at least.
In America, a creepy clown sighting phenomenon began in 2016 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Soon across the country, creepy clowns started appearing at night on street corners, cemeteries, and campgrounds. This started to cause hysteria across the country. There was an angry mob called the Penn State Clown Riot, which went hunting for the clown cosplayers. People in Florida took their kids trick-or-treating armed, which is fun. That's fun. It's such a
It's
Florida.
very American.
Yeah. New Haven, Connecticut banned all clown costumes for the month of October. On October 15th, 2016, there were reports that a clown purge or attack was going to take place on Halloween Eve. And the hysteria even spread to Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and Russia.
Why 2016? What happened in 2016 that brought about this clown mania?
It's the year of the clown.
It's the year of the clown. Have you seen anything online about Wrinkles the Clown? That's this creepy clown that you can actually call. There's some documentary about this. You can call this number and then this guy will show up dressed as Wrinkles the Clown and stand outside your neighbor's window and do creepy crap for you.
Whoa.
I probably shouldn't be promoting that because he's not a sponsor of the show. Now, if he'd like to pony up for a slot, we'd be happy to.
Is this a call out to Wrinkles?
Wrinkles. We'll go right to your jingle, brother. Just got to hit us up.
Well, a few other creepy clowns in pop culture. Rich?
Pennywise from, I guess, the IT department. Oh, no, wait. From It.
From It 1 and 2.
And it was played by Tim Curry back in the original It, or the original It that was a TV movie, I believe.
Right.
And the current It is played by, if I'm not mistaken, Morgan Fairchild.
Nope.
Who is it?
It is one of the brothers. It's one of the brothers. They're Norwegian. Wait, hold on.
Oh, Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth.
Bill Skarsgård, Alexander's brother.
Bill Skarsgård is the They're Swedish, I think. And Bill Skarsgård is it?
Bill Skarsgård, yeah. His brother is Alexander.
Oh, man.
His dad is
I know Alexander.
Stellan.
Stellan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the Skarsgårds. Who knew?
He's actually a really good actor.
He's a great actor. And it's Skarsgård, right? Not Sarsgaard.
Not Sarsgaard, but Skarsgård.
Not Peter Sarsgaard. It's Bill Skarsgård. Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
Bill Skarsgård.
Did you know that Lon Chaney played a creepy clown twice? Once in Laugh Clown Laugh in 1928, and then again in He Who Gets Slapped in 1924, which makes no sense because he would have done that one first because it was 1924. So I said that the wrong way.
Also, I thought the name of the movie was Once in Laugh Clown Laugh. I thought that was the name of the movie.
Once in Laugh, again in Clown, and then again in Laugh.
Lon Chaney in Once in Laugh, Clown Laugh. Okay. Well, the Italian opera Pagliacci from 1892 featured a clown who murders his wife and her lover on stage during a performance, which almost happened to you, Rich.
Yeah, exactly. It almost exactly happened to me. The only difference was it wasn't an opera. It was my real life.
Hey, here's another one. The Joker.
The Joker's definitely a creepy crown.
It's a creepy crown.
Creepy crown is what he's up.
There's an exclamation point next to the Joker. That's why it had to be read that way.
A Joker.
The Joker. Tell me more about Rakshasa.
Well, I'll tell you what about the Joker. Very creepy clown. Not to be confused with the Smoker or the Midnight Toker. They're not creepy clowns.
Good point.
Rakshasa are demons from Hindu mythology. They are also called man-eaters. They also appear in Buddhist scriptures. Rakshasa.
So that's where the Hall & Oates song came from.
He's a Rakshasa.
Mm-hmm. That was the original title, and then they changed it.
Because Oates had to come piss on a good idea. Boy, don't I? I get it, Hall. I hear you.
There are two people in this band, Hall.
They have the power to change their shape into animals, monsters, or even beautiful women. They are not allowed to turn themselves into homely women. That's interesting. According to lore, they are most powerful at night.
Hall & Oates?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Exactly. They are a race of villains in the role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons. Huh. And again, I am referring to the musical duo Hall & Oates.
You're a dwarf, a giant, and you are Hall & Oates. All right. Rakshasa is, it's definitely the coolest name of a bad guy we've had yet.
Hell yeah, Rakshasa.
Yeah.
I'd like to rock a little shasa. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. All right. Are you ready for some fun facts?
Fun facts. Fun house? No. Fun facts.
This episode established Sam's ongoing fear of clowns. Coulrophobia is the fear of clowns.
Why can't they just call it fear of clowns? Coulrophobia sounds like fear of either Colorado or
cauliflower,
or kohlrabi or cauliflower.
What's kohlrabi?
Isn't there some vegetable called kohlrabi?
No, that's just what I always text you when I want you to call me.
And your Italian accent, kohlrabi.
Kohlrabi, because I speak about myself in the first person, third person. I speak about myself in the third person. Kripke wanted to do a clown episode since season 1.
Well, he's the boss. He made it happen.
Mm-hmm. Everybody Loves a Clown is a classic rock song reference from 1965. The song is by Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Did you know that?
Everybody loves a clown. Sure.
I didn't.
Huh.
I thought it was just like a saying, like, everybody loves a clown.
That's probably where they got the reference for the song.
Ah, now it makes sense. Harvelle's is a blues bar in Santa Monica. Kripke would frequent the bar in his 20s and 30s.
I've been to Harvelle's.
Have you?
Yeah, back in my 20s and 30s.
Wow. Did you ever see Kripke?
I didn't.
Huh. It's weird. Well, Ash, Chad Lindberg, asks, you ever been struck by lightning? It ain't fun. Chad Lindberg played a character in an episode of The X-Files that was given powers after being struck by lightning.
Now, I wonder if Kim Manners added that line just for Chad.
I wonder. Well, the rifle Joe Harvelle threatens the boys with at the beginning of this episode is a model 94-30-30 Winchester repeating rifle. Get it?
Yes. Jared and Jensen are both models.
No.
You and I, if you add our ages together, are 94.
Nope.
We are rewatching all of the Supernatural episodes. It means we're repeating our viewership of the show, which means repeating Winchester. In a way, we're repeating the Winchester experience for fans and ourselves.
That's it. That's the one. That, and I wear a pair of 30-30 jeans. That's my jean size.
Square. The episode mentions that Rakshasa can be killed by a dagger made of pure brass. A brass dagger! Opening at Rakshasa this spring in a town near you. Brass is an alloy, mate, made up of copper and zinc. On guitar, the copper. On the bass, zinc.
Bobby Zink.
So there is no such thing as pure brass. Really? Check out this solo. Pure BR ass.
Wow, that's good to know. There's no such thing as pure brass.
Except for there is pure BR ass. Pure Bob and Rich ass.
Hey. Well, on that note, thanks for listening, everybody. That was our take on season 2, episode 2. And
it was a good one. It was a fun podcast. It was fun interviews, and it was a fun episode.
Totally.
Thank you to all the creepy clowns out there. A little tip of the fake wig to all the creepy clowns out there for all their hard work, scaring people all over the globe with their innocent, murderous creepiness.
And a sincere apology to all the non-creepy clowns just trying to go out there and do the good clown work.
do the Lord's work, clowning.
Yeah, exactly.
Best of luck to you, non-creepy clowns.
And we'll see you for the next episode.
Yeah, we will.
This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester and Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars include Samantha Ferris as Ellen Harvelle, Alona Tall as Joe Harvelle, Chad Lindberg as Ash, Quinn Lord as Evan, Alec Willows as Barry Papazian, Ken Kramer as Mr. S. Cooper, and Nicole Munoz as Nora.
Everybody Loves a Clown was written by John Scheiban, directed by Phil Sgriccia, executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
Editing by Anthony Pinker, music by Christopher Leonards. The original broadcast of this episode featured the following songs: Time Has Come Today by the Chamber Brothers, Shambhala by Three Dog Night. Also, there's a song in the show called Do That To Me One More Time by Captain and Tennille, and Mudwalk by Bad Poodle.
This episode originally aired on October 6th, 2006.
This episode ends with In the Memory of Peter Ellis, who directed 2 episodes in season 1.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
What's up, buddy?
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at SPN Then and Now. You froze on me.
I did. It's one of the. Am I frozen to you, Steve? It's one of the brothers.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're all here.
Story Mill Media.